Excellent. My first question is for Hannah Joy. I'm going to go a little closer here because I'm blinded by the light. Okay, so Hannah Joy is running for the 17th Legislative District, State Representative, and my question is on reducing the cost of living. So Hannah, one of your key campaign promises is to reduce the cost of living in Washington. You have proposed several measures, such as lowering taxes, repealing the cap-and-trade tax scheme, and allowing citizens to opt out of the payroll tax for the long-term care benefit. Can you elaborate on how these measures will specifically impact middle and lower-income families? Additionally, how do you plan to navigate potential opposition in legislature to ensure these changes are implemented?
Absolutely, and thank you for that. I appreciate that. So yes, one of the biggest issues we are facing in the state of Washington is the cost of living. We're all feeling it. Your groceries are high, you're struggling to put gas in your car, you gotta buy new clothes and stuff for your kids for school, and it's all just increasing. All the while, we have massive amounts of money in Olympia. Other states have a program that if there is an overage of money that got from taxes, they give it back to the people. We've seen this in other states. That is not the case in Washington. They're like, we're swimming in it. What can we give and to who? Who can we buy? And that's a big issue. We have major mismanagement of our taxpayers in Washington State. So it's about time to start reducing the cost for you guys. And one of those ways is through the cap-and-trade scheme. They have increased the amount of taxes on your gas, so where is that money going? I believe it was $40 million that came from those the first time it was put through, and not a single penny of that went back to our roads or infrastructure. That's a big deal. That's a really big problem. Where is that money going, and why is it not getting to the places we need it to get? So we need to hear of it. The long-term care payroll tax. It was just recently brought that if you work 500 hours or more a month, you can get it after you pay in for a certain amount of time. But if you stop paying into it for a little bit of time, you're not eligible. You have to start all over again. This is a major flaw. Talk about any young family who's trying to get started in the world and mom needs to stop to raise her kids for a little bit. She's just now lost that. She has to start all over from scratch. This is anti-family policy and it has to go away. Because we all know that a civil society is based on families and how healthy families are in the state. So we need to start making sure that we're creating happy, healthy families by making it affordable for them to have them. So that is another way. And taxes in general are just out of control. We're looking at property tax and gas tax and payroll tax and this tax. And the taxing in the state of Washington is one of the worst I've ever seen. B&O tax. Now you have income tax. They're going to keep coming at us until we stand up, and we've got to stop. And I don't know where that timer is. Oh, you're there. Hi. We're doing good.
You're doing awesome.
Great. So yes, reduce taxes, making the cost of living affordable, because that is a necessity. Do I need to keep going?
Yeah.
I want to thank each of you for being up here and giving your wise answers. So my question is for Brad on the topic of the I-5 Columbia River crossing and transportation infrastructure. So Brad, you have expressed strong opposition to the extension of light rail into Vancouver as part of the Columbia River crossing project. And it was citing concerns about increased homelessness and traffic issues. Instead, you support infrastructure options that include a new I-5 bridge with expanded lanes and additional river crossings. But you are firmly against any form of tolling. Can you provide more details on your proposed solutions for the I-5 Columbia River crossing that align with your principles?
It's likely that the person elected to the Senate in the 18th District will be the most influential person in shaping the future of the I-5 River Bridge project. We know that because the current senator, 4 or 5 years ago, reopened the old CRC and put us in the situation that we're in today. It will require somebody in this seat going to Olympia and passionately fighting for you, fighting for the district, so that we can reshape the project into something that works for us. Currently, if they replace that bridge with a bridge that's 100 lanes wide, it won't do a lick of difference because you'll still have a bottleneck on either side. The volume is too much for that bridge, it's too much for two bridges, which is why what I know we need is a third bridge, okay? We need a third crossing over that river. And I know that we can get it done for less than the proposed $7.5 billion because there's currently plans in place to replace a bridge up the river in Lake Salmon for $500 million. So I know we can do it for less. The problem is nobody's up there fighting for that solution. We need somebody who will go and fight for that. We can also get rid of the $2 billion light rail add-on. I worked in Portland for a number of years, and I had to ride the light rail almost every day because parking's so bad down there, and because the traffic's so bad. It's not safe, all right? It's a one-way homelessness superhighway. Portland wants to send their problem over the river to us. So we have to shut that down immediately. So we shut that down. We take the money that we have, we build a third bridge, and we do it without tolls. I know we can do it without tolls because the state budget is full of wasteful spending. They want to convert the state's fleet of ferries from diesel to electric. Is that a good use of our taxpayer dollars? No, let's use some of that money to help build a third bridge so that we can fix the problem, all right? It will take a fighter to go to Olympia and drive positive change. I'm passionate about this. I want to be that person. I want to be accessible to people. When I meet them, I say, here's my cell phone number, 360-931-4574. Send me an email at brad@bradbentonforsenate.com and check out my website. Tell me about the issues that are important to you. Republicans from the 18th district that are in Olympia right now don't work for us. They work for themselves and special interests and the caucus. That's who they work for. I want to go to Olympia to work for you.
First question for John Lee, running for the 18th Legislative District. This question, John's about state spending and tax reform. John, you've highlighted the need to rein in unsustainable state spending and implement tax reforms to combat inflation. With 3 citizen initiatives that you've supported becoming law, how do you plan to further reduce state spending while ensuring essential services are not compromised? Additionally, can you elaborate on your proposed tax reforms, such as ending the carbon tax, reversing the capital gains excise tax, and allowing people to opt out of the state payroll tax, and how these measures will provide relief to Washington's residents?
I'll piggyback off of some of what my friends said. Washington does not have a revenue problem. It has a spending problem. This year, if you read the Daily Dead Fish Wrapper with a hat tip to Lars, who refers to the Oregonian every day that way, Oregonians are expecting $5.5 billion of their money to be given back to them in the form of a tax rebate. Washington state is even better off than Oregon. If Oregon can give their citizens $5.5 billion back, that is how much money we have in a slush fund that we need to be spending. Well, I was going to say spending more responsibly. No, we shouldn't be taking it to begin with. That's the real issue, number one. So let's talk affordable housing. It's impossible to have affordable housing when property taxes are unaffordable. And property taxes are kicking far too many people, senior citizens on fixed incomes, out of their homes. In fact, 4 years ago when I ran against Senator Ann Rivers, she said the location that had the most seniors losing their homes due to high property taxes was right here in Camas, Washington. It's an outrage that the government takes more of your money than you get to keep when you're the one earning it. We are using the tool we have left in our Constitution, the Citizens Initiative. Thank goodness. We're supposed to have separation of powers, right? The governor, the legislature representing you, and the Supreme Court that interprets the laws in the Constitution. We don't have that anymore. Republicans are within 1 seat in the House, 1 seat in the Senate of losing control of everything. The one tool we have is the Citizens Initiative. God bless Tim Eyman, who a decade ago discovered the power of that tour, and most recently, Jim Walsh, head of the Washington State Republican Party, has discovered that. He wrote 6 initiatives, 3 of which became law because the Democrats were so afraid that if it got on the ballot this November, that it would create a red wave that they want to avoid. So you get a chance to vote on 3 more of those to repeal and protect no income tax in Washington State, to eliminate the payroll tax. I could go on. I'm going to be a no vote. I'm going to be in the minority, but I will proudly be a no vote against any tax increases and fighting for responsible spending.
All right. I have a question for you, Lucia. So, running for the 49th Legislative District. Question 1. This is about addressing crime and public safety. Lucia, your platform emphasizes a strong stance on stopping crime and restoring safety where we live. Can you provide specific strategies you plan to implement to reduce crime rates effectively? Additionally, how do you intend to address the root causes of crime?
Thank you. I think we have become a culture of a crime culture in that many of us don't really understand what's happening, and we're afraid to say much about it. So when we're looking at crime itself, one of the problems initially is that this lack of enforcement. Even if it's enforced, there are no penalties. So when you're looking at one of the main ones is something we've pretty well accepted, and that's retail crime. If you go to any store, you'll see people there, someone who is monitoring the people who are coming in. Well, that actually is going to cost us more money by condoning this crime that's happening in the retail stores. There's a lot of retail crime that we've just accepted. A long time ago, I used to have a grocery store, and I would have little kids coming in, basically stealing penny candy. I would call the police would come, the parents would come, and it would be a big scandal, and I think most of the kids were cured from that. We don't have that anymore. So, we actually have condoned crime because many of us are afraid to say anything. Unfortunately, the media doesn't help us. So I talk about the First Amendment. The First Amendment is being able to have the courage to speak our mind. And many of us are no longer comfortable with speaking our mind because we're called all sorts of names. So as far as crime itself, I think there's a crime culture that's slowly grown. For instance, many of us don't go to Portland anymore. I used to love Portland, but I can go, I'm very careful about where I go. I don't go on the Max anymore because people have been murdered on the Max. So I just, there's a lot of avoidance on our part, but I think enforcement is the thing. So I'm not a legal scholar, but as far as I know, if you don't enforce a law, it kind of disappears. And that's sort of what's been happening. I don't know if you're familiar with the boiled frog syndrome. I used to teach that when I was teaching business. The boiled frog syndrome is if you put a frog in warm water and it just sits there, if you slowly turn up the heat, it dies. It doesn't even know. So I think that's one of the things I'm looking at with crime. Thank you so much.
Okay, this is question 2 for you, Hannah. Hannah, this is on the topic of building our economies safely. So, Hannah, you have emphasized the importance of building Washington's economy by encouraging industries to come to the state and supporting small businesses through regulatory reform. You also propose restoring law enforcement's ability to chase criminal suspects and prosecute those found guilty, which you believe will allow businesses to focus more on customer service rather than security concerns. Can you detail the specific regulatory reforms you plan to implement to attract and support businesses?
Yeah, and I'll try and take up all my time because I'm practicing to be a politician. I think one of the most important things that we can do in the state of Washington is reduce the taxes for businesses. Small businesses have been vilified in the state of Washington. We really have. I used to own a small business in Washington. I know how difficult it was to keep employees and how difficult it was to keep up with regulations and red tape and all of this stuff. And then as the businesses get larger, of course, their taxes get larger. We saw an exodus of industries leave Washington when those taxes hit. What does that mean for families? That means lost jobs. That means unaffordable housing. That's a lot of issues. It's a tentacled issue. So yes, we have retail crime out of control, smash and grabs, all of your groceries. You go into Target, your shampoo is now locked up behind glass cases, your formula is locked up. It's only going to continue that way until we can stop retail theft. It will help also with the cost of living because now they won't have to put so much investment into protecting those items, right? Another issue we have is that nobody's prosecuted. So if somebody comes in, they drive a truck straight through your bicycle shop. This is a real issue. They'll steal your bicycles. You claim insurance. You repair it. You get new stuff, new bicycles. They do it again. Well, at some point, insurance is going to drop you. So now you have businesses that can't have insurance because the crime is so much. It's just the cascading effects of crazy chaos. Another issue that we have is electricity. We have all of these laws that are cart before the horse. We want to ban any sale of gas-powered vehicles by 2050, go electric. We want to ban gas-powered utilities in your homes moving forward to build. And now we want to take it away and you have to convert your home to electric. Our electrical grid can't handle that. That's a known fact. We're going to have massive brownouts, we're going to have massive blackouts if we do that. Now let's take that into industry. Industry is mostly on the west side of the state. That is where most of it is because that's where most people want to live. But any type of new green-powered energy is being produced on the east side of the state. Your wind, your solar. The amount of money that it takes to do transitory electric from the east to the west is going to increase the cost even more. It is a cascading effect of cost rising, cost rising, cost rising. Why would anybody want to create industry in the state of Washington? So we've got a mixed bag. We've got small businesses who are suffering and closing. We've got larger industries who are realizing they are no longer profitable or can afford to stay in the state, and the other ones look really good. So let's just address it head on. Let's address the laws that are preventing our small businesses and our industries from succeeding and creating jobs for our families.
Brad, your second question is about property rights and tax policy. You've strongly opposed any form of tax increase, emphasizing the need for better government, financial management, and reduced spending to enable tax cuts. Given the rise in property taxes that contribute to the housing crisis and disproportionately affect senior citizens on those on fixed incomes, can you elaborate on your specific strategies and legislative plans to protect private property rights while simultaneously addressing the high property tax issue, and how you intend to balance these priorities to ensure both individual property rights and financial relief for homeowners are maintained?
You have my word that I will never as your state senator, vote for a new tax or a tax increase of any kind. And any candidate that doesn't look you in the eye and make you that same promise doesn't deserve your vote. The state takes more than enough of our hard-earned money to properly fund its obligations to us. As John said, we don't have a revenue problem. We have a reckless spending problem. The state budget has doubled in the last 10 years. It's ballooned to almost $70 billion. And we carry a budget surplus of $3.3 billion. But nobody fights to give that money back to us. Nobody fights to reallocate the money that they already have to create tax relief and fund other projects. There's $50 billion in the state budget to fund illegal immigrant programs. That's our money, right? That money should be used for Washingtonians, for Americans. We have been failed by the Republicans that have been sent to Olympia to advocate on our behalf. It's going to take, as I said before, a fighter, somebody who's passionate about this, somebody who's not afraid to rock the boat to get things done. We get the same old tired line of we're in the minority, we can't do anything. Yes, we can. You know, if we know the rule book better, we can still do things in the minority. If we know the initiative process, we can still do things in the minority and get some of our legislation passed. One of the things I'd like to see, specifically on property taxes, is maybe we can put something in place where the value of your home, when you buy it, that is the rate that's taxed on for the remainder of the time you own the home. We lock you into that value, and that's what you pay taxes on. Otherwise, you're paying taxes on inflation over a 30-year period, and that's not right, right? How are we going to pay for it? We're going to pay for it with the budget surplus. We're going to reallocate money so it's spent better and so it's spent on you guys, okay? I'm asking you, if you're behind me, if you like what I have to say, please tell other people about me, even if you don't live in my district. When I kill a tax on the floor of the Senate, it's not just going to be for people in the 18th, it's going to be for all of you, for all of Washington. So please, get behind my campaign. Come over and talk to me tonight. I've got a sign-up sheet where I can get your information. Walk a neighborhood for me. Help fund me so I can get this message out. Go to my website, bradbentonforsenate.com. Check out my Facebook page, Brad Benton for Senate. Share it so we can get this message out and send somebody to Olympia that will fight for you.
John, you know it's coming for you. All right. Second question, John, and this is on transportation. I know you were salivating for this one. All right. So, John, you advocate new bridge corridors to alleviate traffic congestion and oppose the Columbia River crossing project, as well as Oregon's tolling scheme. Can you provide more details on your vision for improving Washington's transportation infrastructure without increasing gas tax?
Thank you for that question.
You're welcome.
And for the next hour, I will hold court. For those of you that don't know me, I am the Clark County transportation guru. I never set out to be it. I got involved in our community when we fought the Columbia River crossing a decade ago. I got to know amazing patriots like David Nador, Tiffany Couch, so many people that dug into the details. Short answer, our government actually did something good. Yes, that's coming out of John Lee's mouth. In 2007 and 2008, our Regional Transportation Council did a study, and they said when Clark County population reaches 1 million people, what will we need for transportation corridors to move people and freight and goods efficiently around the county? And they said we will need not one, but 2 new bridges over the Columbia River. And they provided 2 options for each bridge. One bridge right here from Camas to Troutdale, another one at 192nd connecting to 181st in Portland, and 2 options west of the I-5 bridge. It was absolutely spot on. Short answer, Portland has a dozen bridges across the Willamette River, why are we limited to only 2 bridges to cross the Columbia River? Additional issue, what is people's most valuable thing in their life other than the good Lord and their family? It's their time. Overwhelmingly, every single survey says people want to reduce traffic congestion and save time, and yet the $7.5 billion interstate bridge project ignores saving time and reducing traffic congestion. In fact, they're promising that by 2045, the morning commute time from Salmon Creek to the Fremont Bridge will double from 29 minutes today to 60 minutes. Furthermore, they say half of rush hour traffic will be stuck going 0 to 20 miles an hour. It's an abomination, and if you had common sense leaders in Olympia and in the nation's capital, they would say, we're not spending a penny on something that fails to save people time and reduce traffic congestion. So the easy answer is we've got to go fight. I am happy to continue digging into the details on this. Go to clarkcountytoday.com, hit transportation and million stories. An issue I just revealed last week. 54% of the surface of the new bridge is not going for cars or trucks. It's going for bicyclists, pedestrians, and transit. Yes, it's a waste of your money.
Okay, for the second question is for Lucia on the topic of infrastructure and transportation modernization. Lucia, you have highlighted the need to fix roads and bridges and modernize our transportation system strategically. Can you elaborate on your plan for achieving this? Specifically, how will you prioritize projects to ensure the most critical infrastructure needs are addressed first?
Well, it seems like we're in agreement here. I think we've got a bunch of us who are really looking at this in a strategic way. And strategically, that means, 10, 20, 30 years from now. Right now, we have a relatively small population base here when you compare it to other cities who use light rail. We're not ready for light rail, for instance, because we're mostly rural. Someone living way out past Battleground going into Portland would need to get a car to put in a light rail place. I used to live in the DC area, and there were lots of parking garages of people who would go to the metro to then take the light rail into metro into the city. So I look at it strategically. I agree with these two, and John has been a really good source of information. I think we need a truck route. We need a truck route that links both ports, and that is the port of Vancouver as well as the port of Portland. It's absolutely absurd to think that we're going to be following a truck through Portland that is going actually to Mexico. So we need a speedy truck route. One of the things that apparently it costs $50 billion as a B, 50 billion B, in truck idling in the United States. So the truck idling, when you're looking at truck idling, that means that they have to pass on the cost. Trucking is very expensive, and many of them are small operators. They need to pass on, if they're idling for 20 minutes even, and then delivering to Costco or wherever, they're going to have to put that in their invoice. You're going to have to pass on, which basically is part of inflation when you're looking at the truck idling part. In addition to that, the green New Deal people don't really consider all the exhaust from trucks that is there when they're idling. So that's the other thing. But an infrastructure for have a good economy, when you're looking at macroeconomics, that means you have to have a base of good transportation systems. And that is for passengers, but also for commerce. And so commerce needs to have that. In addition to that, we have a lot of roads that just need to be repaired. One of the things with the I-5 bridge, we still don't have the Coast Guard saying that what they want would be working. You know, it doesn't work for us. The Coast Guard doesn't like it.